Nigeria has officially come out on the outrage over the plight of Nigerians stranded in China and the report of maltreatment of our citizens in that country over the coronavirus. Tonight, we speak exclusively to the foreign minister. And the European Union has extended a hand of assistance to Nigeria in its fight against COVID-19 with a donation of 15 million euros, that is over 20 billion naira. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. Thank you so much everyone for joining in. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos, the epicenter of Nigeria's war against coronavirus, where authorities say more people have been discharged from the city. Today, from the treatment center for COVID-19, 20 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed from yesterday by the NCDC, which took the total of the cases in Nigeria to 343, 13 in Lagos, 2 in Edo, 2 in Kano, 2 in Ogun, and 1 in Ondo. 10 deaths recorded so far, and only in 19 states have we found some of these cases out of the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. More monies are coming into the federal government purse in the fight against COVID-19, but the President Muhammadu Buhari has assured the European Union that its donation of 50 million euros to Nigeria will go a long way in supporting efforts to control the spread of coronavirus in the country. The President spoke when he received a delegation of the EU led by Ambassador Ketil Carlson at the State House in Abuja. The President also used the occasion to condole EU member countries over the loss of lives as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, we have some updates for you on our political roundup, some of the situation in some of the states of the Federation, as well as effort in ensuring that we curtail the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria.
The Senate President Ahmed Lawan and the Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila have met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa Abuja. The meeting is said to have been around the issue of the nation's effort in fighting the coronavirus disease and the role of the National Assembly and their oversight functions. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has announced another 2-week stay-at-home order as part of measures to contain the novel coronavirus disease in Delta State. The earlier declared lockdown, which started on April the 1st, expires today, Tuesday, by 11:59 p.m., with a new directive taking effect immediately in addition to the lockdown. The dusk to dawn curfew will also be enforced by security agencies in the state, and this is coming on the heels of reports and evidence that some residents flout the orders to sit at home, especially at night. The People's Democratic Party in Edo State has pledged its determination to continue to mobilize residents and resources against the coronavirus pandemic, but it is asking the state government to be more proactive in handling the situation, which has become a threat to over 5 million residents in the state. The party's leadership, which spoke during a press conference on the coronavirus disease at its secretariat in Benin City, demanded to see more robust approach from the state government that will reduce the current spate of community transmission of the disease in Edo State. The crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State seems to be deepening following the detention by the police of 3 members of the Umar Ardo-led faction of the party in the state. The crisis worsened with the formation of the Ardo faction, known as Reformed PDP, RPDP, following disagreement over legality of the state government-backed executive under the leadership of Tahir Shehu. According to the faction leader of the PDP, now christened RPDP in Adamawa State, their members were arrested following an alleged petition written to the police by the state chairman of the PDP, where he accused the RPDP members of using the logo and documents of the PDP, describing their leader as an expelled member of the PDP.
By now, you perhaps are familiar with the social media video of a Nigerian official in China who was obviously angry and livid speaking to a Chinese official when talking about the plight of some Nigerians who are reported to have been stranded and maltreated in China. The case has gotten to the attention of the National Assembly, where the speaker confronted the Chinese ambassador in Nigeria with some of the videos, but Nigerian government says it is investigating the matter. Nigerians and some leaders have alleged discrimination against their citizens by city authorities in the measures to stem the spread of imported coronavirus cases in China, saying Africans were mistreated, evicted from hotels, and forcefully tested for the virus. Tonight, we get to hear from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Geoffrey Onyeama, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Earlier today, he's been speaking on the matter, and tonight we get some insight on what has happened in terms of their investigation. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Geoffrey Onyeama, for joining us tonight on the program. Indeed, this is being a matter on the minds of a lot of Nigerians who relatives, brothers and sisters are said to have been stranded. From the report that we have, we understand that about 203 of them are on business trip in Guangzhou in China. 170 or so, we understand, are at some point resident in China. But from your investigation, Honorable Minister, what have you found out in this latest clash?
Well, I mean, you know, you've given some figures as regards Nigerians who are stranded there, business people, and those who are resident there. I cannot contest that. You know, that is probably the case, that there are some Nigerians stranded there. But of course, what we investigated were the circumstances that led to some of the videos that you're talking about that we all saw on social media. And of course, we're extremely concerned. And, you know, for us, on the face of it, it was something that was totally unacceptable to see what appeared to be Nigerians and other Africans being expelled from their residences and hotels. And another video that was showing, you know, a sign that blacks and Africans were not allowed to go into a McDonald's, and so we investigated those circumstances. I mean, what was behind them? That was what our investigation focused on.
So, what have you found out, Honorable Minister?
Well, you know, first and foremost, we have to make it clear. Of course, we are not there. I'm not in China, so we have to rely on our officials who are there. We have an embassy in Beijing. We have a consul general and a consulate in Shanghai, and we have a consulate in Guangdong, the province where you have Guangzhou, where the incident took place. So we've been in touch with all of them, and as well as, of course, the Chinese ambassador here in Nigeria to try to get to the bottom of it. You know, at the very beginning, I think, you know, it took a lot of people by surprise. And it took a while, even for the people there on the ground, to get a full sense of what was behind it all and what was really happening. And, you know, as far as our investigation is concerned, and this was confirmed by, you know, by our officials there, that essentially a flight came in late March carrying Nigerians. And about 7 of them, or 9, tested positive for COVID-19. And one of those apparently who tested positive was a woman that had a restaurant, operating a restaurant there. And this restaurant was, you know, a Nigerian restaurant. And those who patronized the restaurant were essentially Nigerians and other Africans. So I think the concern, of course, for the Chinese was, you know, having just come out of the Wuhan, you know, epidemic, they were beginning to see that there were new infections coming in from outside the country. And so they were alerted to the fact that there was this concentration of, of Africans who had come in, and that a certain number of them, Nigerians, tested positive, including a woman who runs a restaurant where cooking for, for predominantly African clientele. So they took the immediate decision to move out and get those Nigerians and Africans quickly tested, as it seemed to be, within that community. And as we understand it, they put in place very strict measures, quarantining people, requiring them to stay either in their residences or in hotels or whatever, and I think gave strict instructions that whoever ventured out should not be allowed back in to the hotel, and so it was really something that they intended to enforce. And so, I think there's also confusion amongst the Nigerians and Africans why it seemed to be targeting them. They seemed to be the targets, and some of them did venture out. They were not allowed back in. Others were not happy to have to take the test because they had spent 14 days in quarantine or in isolation already. And so there was this, as we put it, as we see it, lack of communication. And of course, you have the image there of an official of the consulate in Guangzhou, arguing about the seizure of passports of Nigerians and, why that was being done. And so at the end of the day, we feel that it was really just poor communication. The officials of Guangzhou had this order, and unfortunately, they did not take along, they did not communicate this to the African consulates that were there. If they had and had said to them, look, listen, this is what has happened. Some people have come in on this flight. The majority of those who tested positive were from Nigeria. And because of that, and taking into account that, they've mingled in around, and one of them, is operating a restaurant, we're going to put this very extreme measure in place to contain it. And then our officials would have known and would have cooperated with them and explained that to our nationals who were there. So they imposed this and enforced it. And of course, there was a lot of suspicion. There was a patient, for instance, who had tested positive, and they wanted to take to, in isolation, to isolate. And the patient, got quite violent and bit the nurse because, he felt that they were probably going to inject him with something that might actually make him have the disease. So it was really was a dialogue of the deaf. There was no communication between the two sides, and we feel that this is what led to a lot of the problems. Now, there were obviously instructions that must have been given to some of the owners of premises, hotels, and so forth, that, look, listen, we have suspicions that, or we know that some of the people that came in from this part of the world have tested positive, and we're trying to, contain it and put in place this very drastic measures.
Minister,
and,
Honorable Minister, apologies to butt in. There are a few more questions that we have for you, especially on the incident. It's not only Nigerians that were involved, other Africans are involved. Some of the questions that these people have, I'll put to the Honorable Minister, but we'll take a break. And when we return, more on the Chinese situation and the plight of Nigerians who are up till now are waiting to be evacuated from China. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. The Chinese government has pledged to ease health measures on Africans in the southern city of Guangzhou as the country sought to resolve a dispute that could set back China's diplomatic outreach during the coronavirus pandemic. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the government has treated foreigners equally and attaches great importance to their life and health, saying that they reject differential treatment and we have zero tolerance for discriminations. Nigerians and some leaders have alleged discrimination against their citizens by city authorities in measures in their cities to stem the spread of imported coronavirus cases, saying Africans were mistreated, evicted from the hotels, and forcefully tested for the virus. Let's continue our conversation with the Foreign Minister, Mr. Geoffrey Onyeama, who has been giving us answers to some of the concerns of Nigerians. This seems to be a wide public issue. Honorable Minister, give us an understanding of what the implication could be. For example, seizing the passports of some Nigerians, there appears to be some violations of their rights. Are you taking that up?
Yeah, we're not aware. I mean, definitely. I mean, if they have been seized, but our understanding is that they had asked to look at those passports and then were returning them. I think your video showed that to our consul, acting consul general there. So certainly, of course, if they had seized on a permanent basis the passports, we would definitely take some measures. But we're not aware that they have permanently seized passports. Our understanding was that they had asked for those passports to, just to look at the passports, to check the details.
From some of those Nigerians who are on the ground there, the implication of what is happening, according to them, especially those who are arrested there, are saying that this is simply stigmatization and discrimination. It is not only happening to Nigerians, it's also happened to some African citizens there with their countries that also intervene in this matter. Have you been able to obtain an assurance from the Chinese government, especially in Guangzhou, that this will no further happen to Nigerians?
Yeah, well, you see, yes. I mean, of course, as I said to you, we have an ambassador, we have an embassy in Beijing. So our first port of call was the government in Beijing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We registered our protest and made it clear that we could not accept the violation of the rights of Nigerians anywhere in the world, and expressed outrage at what we were seeing in social media and the reports we were getting from Nigerians there. And we demanded a number of things. We demanded that the central government should investigate what's going on there and take immediate action. And also we wanted a statement, a clear, unequivocal statement by the government of China with regards to what was going on. Is there racism there? Is there discrimination? And they responded. They engaged with us. They met with all the African ambassadors in Beijing. Our ambassador in Beijing, in China, was feeding me with reports almost on an hourly basis, letting me know what was happening. And the Chinese came out, they made the statement, they indicated that they have a zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind and racism. They talked about the very close bonds that they have with us, and they sent a team to Guangzhou to investigate what was going on. And then also now, which is what should have happened earlier, the authorities in Guangzhou are now engaging with our consulate there. And I've been assured by our officials in China, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Beijing, that the matter has now, been dealt with.
Honorable Minister, let me jump in quickly again. Sorry, apologies. The big question here, and the fears on the minds of a lot of people, especially the African community, of course, Nigerians were more concerned about them, is that are Nigerians safe going forward in Guangzhou and in China? Because it looks so much that for some of the report, China or in Guangzhou, they are afraid that there are imported cases of coronavirus. Can you say that Nigerians are safe in that city or in China?
Yeah, I mean, of all the accusations that there have been, there's been nothing at all to indicate any kind of threat to, to the lives and well-being, physically or the material well-being properties of Nigerians in Guangzhou. That has not been the case at all. So, so I think their safety is, is assured. But more importantly, we are determined that they should be treated well, should be treated, that their dignity should be respected, and that under no circumstances should we see images of Nigerians out in the streets with their possessions, with nowhere to go, apparently. And the Chinese government has assured us that even for those who cannot pay for isolation centers and hotels, that they are ready to assist them. And you see, I think another area where I think there was some lack of communication is that the Chinese were keen to send Nigerians and others who might have been positive or, that they wanted to quarantine to specific isolation centers, and that, of course, again, I think was something that was not well communicated.
Okay, maybe
then,
at that point, let me jump in again quickly, Honorable Minister. Apologies again. Some of the evidence of the video that we found again online showing the officials of Nigeria there in Guangzhou giving food out is there are reports also that some Nigerians are now stranded on the streets and living now on the street and being denied food. The big question here is that there seems to be an urgent need for evacuation. When do you think Nigerians there who want to come back home can be brought back home as they needed urgent intervention or evacuation?
Yeah, okay, we are at the stage now where, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working with the Nigerian Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. They are the agency responsible for emergencies such as this. But we're working very closely together, and we have asked certain airlines to put in quotes to bid, and hopefully by today or tomorrow, we would have decided on the airlines that we will use, and hopefully we will then be able to very soon thereafter be able to send planes out. But there are other challenges. It's not as simple as just going out and bringing people back in. We have to have isolation centers for them here in Nigeria. They have to come and spend 14 days here, and so we have to have enough room because there are about 2,000 Nigerians that want to come back. There are those in the US, there are those in the UK, there are those in United Arab Emirates, and there are those in China. There are 200 in Sudan, students as well, and we just don't have the capacity and the resources to absorb all of them immediately. So, we'll have to probably do it in stages. And then there are others who are saying that tests should be carried out before. Now, we know in some countries it's difficult to get testings done, but hopefully we will be in a position to start, sending planes out in a matter of days.
Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Geoffrey Onyeama, thank you indeed so much for clearing the air on some of these issues. Perhaps some people might have some good night sleep tonight because of some of the things that you have said. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That's our show for tonight. I'm Sean Wakimbale. Bye for now.